Oh, welcome everybody. Own Your
Hello.
Agents. We're here again. I am your host along with Joseph Dougie. And we've got an awesome guest for you today, Tenzin from Zotbot. Lots of agentic news to talk about, lots of cool new projects we've been working on. But basically what we do is it's informal. We kind of, after some intros, we'll go around, I'll do a quick one. We then talk about those things and see where it goes. So basically, like I said, my name is Douglas Campbell. I run a consulting business that helps businesses level up their workflows with agentic processes. It's super fun stuff. I love playing with my OpenClaw Nexus, always leveling things up. I might even get to show it a little bit later. I've been giving it some new skills. And in general, I'm just really excited about how agents can help us in our life, across our relationships, in our work, just be the best versions of ourselves while taking away all that boring stuff that we hate doing. So I'm here to support agents so that they can best support us. And with that, I will hand it off to Joseph.
Yeah, and I also want to say, I forgot to do this. It's what I wanted to do. Tenzin, you can see at the top it says edit right there. You can add a streaming service to stream this to live, and then we can get a more diversity of people watching this
Oh yeah, if you want
from
to
your
add it to
audience.
anybody. Yeah.
Okay, got it.
So yeah, I'm Joseph Perla. I have been doing AI for 20 years, and it's kind of crazy, but just this year it became very exciting, I would say. It's really gotten to like RSI, it's really clearly AGI, and so I used it to build trustedrouter.com so that I can be in the token selling business as well. And a lot of people are trying it out. It's very new, but we have hundreds of users now, going on thousands, and that's what we're trying to promote, just people using more and more agents. And the last couple of weeks I've been doing a lot with kind of agents that are running themselves and running the business, because I'm a solo founder right now. So all these tasks of social media and content, SEO and marketing, I am trying to keep it together, glue the company together just with that and agents, and it's going surprisingly well. Like I've got a very featureful site with a lot of cool stuff on it, and I'm just getting started. So pretty exciting.
Yeah, I have a key. I use it. I'm a proud member. Not probably your
Yes.
most power, like your power member yet, but I have aspirations to use more tokens, I promise. Did,
Everything's a Pareto thing. Most users are low usage, and then a few are higher usage, and
yeah. Cool. Tenzin, you want to give us the lowdown? Where you at? What you've been working on?
Yep, sounds good. So I've been into AI for quite a while. I think the turning point for me was like back in college. I picked up I think it was the Ray Kurzweil book, The Age of Spiritual Machines, and in that he kind of showed like, okay, extrapolate out the exponential of Moore's law, and this is where we're going to be by like 2020s. And I was like, okay, I need to I need to change what I'm studying here. And fast forward through to today. Well, in between that, I got really into like big data engineering, site reliability engineering. I saw an opportunity to, with where AI was and kind of the capabilities that developed in the last just couple of years. And, the things that I've been focusing on was like system reliability, scalable systems. The agents are finally at a point where they can automate a lot of that really kind of gnarly debugging work that engineers have to like stay up until 3 a.m. to kind of figure out, right? Now the agents can, look at the traces, look at the logs, find the connections, then help you kind of focus on, how do we get to 10x, right? So Zot.bot is what we're building right now. Essentially, we're doing agent observability for systems like RAG agents, as well as OpenClaw, Hermes agents, that kind of thing. So what we do is we help see if your agent is hallucinating, if it's misbehaving, if it's kind of contradicting itself. And then for OpenClaw agents, we help figure out if you created a new skill, and that skill is burning just through all your token budget all of a sudden. And before, the way you found out is you have a huge bill, right? that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Or if there's, more latency that you've introduced in your system with some change that you made, you switch from Sonnet to Sol, and all of a sudden things are not working as they were before, right? You see the trends over time. So that's what we're building right now. And yeah, we're excited to kind of see, help agents become more reliable with this.
So one question we can start with that we like to talk about sometimes is the name of our live stream here, Own Your Agents. So in this age where everyone's promising to give us our agentic tool or collaborator, we've got things like Manus, we've got, the big people like Google or obviously Claude and OpenAI. They're like, we want to be your agent for everything. You can connect us to everything and just trust us. We got you. And come on, we'll make it one click easy. And here's all these things. And so what do we think about that? Why is that? What's the pro and con of effectively not really owning your agent, of letting kind of someone else tell you what to do?
Is that directed at me?
Yeah, why not? What do you think about that? Why do you feel like it's good to own your agents?
Yeah, I mean, because the ownership question, it's like, at what level do you want to own it, right? Because what makes up an agent? You have the LLM, right? Which is like the underlying kind of neural network there. You have the harness, right? I guess those are really the only two. So you could say, ownership means I've built my own harness, right? Or it could be that, the LLM, right? It's you're running it on your own, GPUs and inference, right? So I guess what level of ownership would you are you kind of talking about, right?
Great question. Great question. I think that's a really good distinction. I don't even know if we've addressed that sort of, getting that clear with it. Personally, when I think about it, I'm thinking about, I like to think like OpenClaw, for example. I know, you like to play in OpenClaw too. Like how does that differentiate itself from, for example, maybe just embracing more of Claude to be your everything? I would think that if you're going into OpenClaw or Hermes, that's a little bit more like owning your agent. But then there's
so at the harness level, right?
Yeah, maybe the harness level is what we're talking about.
Yeah, and I think at that level, I think ownership for me means that you you have the ability to take your marbles and go home if you want, right? In this case, marbles would be like all the context that you've built up with your agent, right? So all your conversation logs, all the memories, all the skills that you've accumulated, processes, like you can actually take those and move them to, let's say you don't like OpenClaw anymore, you want to go to Hermes, right? You can lift and shift that over. Whereas if everything you did was in Claude web app, right? Is there an easy way for you to dump all of that and move it to what's the cool new thing now, like Grok, or like you want to move it all to Grokbot? You can't just be like, Claude, give me a zip file of everything we've talked about, and
right.
I'm going to move that over, right?
Wait, why can't you do that? I think you can. I mean, when everyone moved from OpenAI to Claude, Claude published a prompt you could ask OpenAI, which is like, summarize my personality preferences, everything and then give me a file, and then you just put it into Claude.
Oh wow, okay, so maybe I'm wrong on that. I would be curious, like how deep that goes, right? Does it give you a like one markdown file that's like, okay, this is kind of everything?
I think like one markdown, yeah. But also all your like the
conversation,
I think one markdown, but also all your files are like, at least on Codex, all your files are local, right? So you can Claude can just look them up.
Yeah, that's interesting that they would allow that, because I would think that like all the incentives are saying that they shouldn't do that, right? Because they want, like, that's essentially their mode.
Yeah,
stickiness factor.
That's right. There's a lot of things that they could lock down that they don't. They currently are locking down LLM research. So that's definitely a bit self-serving. Like you're not allowed to do research on Claude, on about LLMs to make them better.
Is that
But there are
because
other
they're
things you
worried
can
about
do that
like they're worried about like Chinese distillation or something like? Does that prevent some sort of scraping
yeah.
of their, probably something like that, right?
Yeah, well, they don't want anyone to be as good at research as them. And
Oh,
so but there are a lot of things they could block that they don't block yet. I mean, maybe they will soon, or once they need to make more profit as a public company. But for example, you can go to trustedrouter.com, sign in, and immediately have a prompt you can paste in to Claude, and it will like ask DeepSeek for you. You can just ask it, and then it will return, and then you can now start using DeepSeek or any other of 500 models, and they could block that. You can load up a skill that says, hey, let's try using Kimi in production. And then they could train Claude to always warn you and say, that is a highly dangerous activity. You should not be calling Kimi ever, not especially not in
right,
production. And they could train that. Instead, it's like, oh yeah, it's fine. It's what you want me to do it, I'll do it. And so yeah, it's surprising how much you're allowed to do still today. I don't know if that's going to last.
yeah, yeah. And I think it probably varies by provider, right? So maybe if you're on Grok, it's harder to get data out. So my point is like you don't necessarily want to be at the whim of the corporations in terms of like, okay, what can you extract out if you need to, right? And then the other nice thing with owning the harness is you can adapt it to your needs very specifically, right? You could fork OpenClaw if you want. You can make your own harness, right? In my case, like I wanted to move from a lot of my workflow from OpenClaw to Hermes agent, right?
You don't have to be reliant on one provider. Like if something goes down,
yeah, you can swap out the LLM if you want.
Exactly. Like that's, I think, attractive. And that actually comes back to, Joseph at Trusted Router, like being able to have more power over what LLM or what sort of, intelligence that you want to use, whether it's fast and cheap or whether it's like unrestricted and powerful, and whichever provider it is. I think that's why things like Trusted Router are so cool. And it's like a part of, I guess, you're owning your agent, you're owning the intelligence engine underneath, you're owning kind of the way you interact with it on top, you're owning the portability of it, like as things evolve potentially.
You mentioned Grok, moving to Grok. I heard that Grok, I mean, this is a piece of news, Grok Bot just came out. And I think it's supposed to be like a Hermes claw type of thing, like Grok Claw, basically. I don't know, has anyone used that? Is that something people are moving to?
No, but I think it's great.
To try it out yet, but I've heard good things about it. Yeah,
I think it's a great segue though to talk about our open claws, or I would love to hear. I'll show you something that I've been working on, and then I'd love to hand it off to Tenzin to hear like what you've been working on. So I'm going to just share my screen real quick, and then I also pulled up a few interesting news articles too, so we can go back to that. But so
by the way, what did you think of that design that we were in with the circles and like playing with other designs? Is that
yeah, man, why not?
You liked it like this?
Yeah.
I don't know. Or is this better? I don't know. I'm just trying to figure something out.
Good for now, I have my my open claw here, and I work out of Discord, and so this is kind of like my way I get it to ask things. I got like my little coding thing, my marketing guy, my designer, my mentor who's advising me on some cool things of outreach and stuff I want to do for this demo that I'm giving, as well as some other things. But I realized that what I wanted was more of a visual kind of repository of what I'm building in my OpenClaw. So I built this dashboard. Might be better on. I built this dashboard for myself that's basically like a skin for OpenClaw. And so in my here, I can actually see, my knowledge that I've been sending it through. I can email it or Discord it, its own little memory that it's got going on. Share links that I can kind of create, as well as some basic things. But then I can go in here and actually look. I can look at like what knowledge has been. I just send it everything I want to remember, and it kind of indexes it, and I can search it kind of nicely later and I can send it from Discord, like I say, or from email. Recently, I've been actually starting to connect it with with LinkedIn, as well as with a Google Contacts special label, and have people that I just want to like reach out to. I'm going to San Francisco next month, and I got like some of my favorite peeps. Joseph, you're in here. Actually, Tenzin, I think you're in here too somewhere. But anyways, I've got my different leads. I've got like my contacts, but then I've also got some LinkedIn folks that I want to reach out to that I might not be as connected to.
Mm.
And so then it syncs it all back to my Google. And then the last one, then this was a kind of like a shared links. I can create these kind of links that then I just say, post it, and I can make it password protected. So I can whip out little prototypes or web pages or little mini apps or tools for myself and just host it on my Nexus sort of domain, like, And then finally, I connected it to my Fathom, where I can actually see the meetings. Like, I think if I probably refresh this, the meeting I had just before this will appear in a moment. But effectively in here, it can talk about action items, red flags. I can link directly to the Team Central. I can actually link it to, if I have a conversation with Tenzin, and Tenzin I think's in here, or Joseph's in here, I can actually be like, Joseph, and I can connect it to you. Not that one. Might still be. Oh, funny. I just made this feature. It's selecting both. But all that to say,
both Joseph.
I literally just connected. I literally just made this button, but I could then link to people I'm wanting to outreach to or that I want to stay in touch with. Like, this is just my sort of people that I want to stay in touch with right now. And so all that to say, while I'm actually doing, how do I stop sharing this? When I'm actually,
you can switch back to this layout.
Yeah, so like while I'm doing my day-to-day work for my clients on my big screen, I've got my Discord open on my little screen, and I'm just being like, it's like my playground. Discord and OpenClaw is like my playground. Like, hey, can you whip up this thing? What do you think about this? All right, cool, just go do it. It's connected to my Codex subscription because Codex gives you more credits with your subscription on OpenClaw. My overflow, if that ends, is trusted router. And then on my main screen, I'm working with, Claude Code and anti-gravity IDE to do my actual work, But the idea of just having like a little playground, be like, hey, could you connect to this? Could you go out and find this thing? All right, LinkedIn's not letting me do this thing. Could you just scroll through the pages and make a spreadsheet of the names and titles? That's exactly like what I did. Sometimes you can do it, sometimes you can't. Sometimes it needs like some sort of paid API additional tool. But whatever, it's in the name of research, I often subscribe to them and throw $10 in for a month to try new things. But I think just having a playground, an agent playground, I think more and more people would enjoy having that, or having this side brain, which I think is a cool place to hand it off to Tenzin too, is like, if I know that just as things come in, I can store them somewhere, and then I can get back into my creative flow, and I'm not like burdened with like bottlenecked with information or cool things, but I know that I can go get that cool thing when and if I need it. It's in a place, that's very comforting and reassuring, and it actually opens up my creative brain to be more creative because it doesn't feel like weighted down, So that's kind of what I'm trying to use OpenClaw, my agent, for, is like keeping me on track for things, keeping me creative by like helping me, like it has my back of all the boring stuff I don't want to like have to remember in my immediate short-term memory. So, but I know also I was inspired by Gary Tan's G-Brain, but when I mentioned that to Tenzin, he's like, oh, that wasn't enough for me, so I created Z-Brain. So I want you to talk a little bit about your OpenClaw experience and maybe some of that stuff too.
Yeah, sounds good. I mean, I've been very taken with OpenClaw since about February. It's just been kind of going wild with building out skills and having it run. Basically,
it was early, just when it launched.
Yeah, it was about a month after launch. At first I was like, this is probably gonna blow over, right? And then everyone was kind of talking about it. I was like, yeah, I don't want to be like. I'm working in this space. I should probably know, what this is. And I think from the first message, I was kind of seduced, right? Because it was very like engaging, actually. for like a chat experience, right? It's like, oh, like who am I? Give me a name. And like, so since then I was taken in, and I'm even like someone that knows about like the Eliza effect, right? Where
What's that?
it seems like Joseph knows about it. It's a funny story. This guy, like, he made basically a chat bot, right? The chat bot, like, he was a computer scientist. And he was like,
sorry, the year is 1960.
Yeah,
this is 1960.
Okay.
1960, yeah.
90 years ago? No, it's like 70 years ago.
Yeah. Quite. I think Weizenbaum.
60. 60 years ago. Yeah.
But yeah, he was a computer scientist. He's like, I could probably make a chat agent, like just with heuristics, right? Okay, like some grammatical and syntactical rules, right? His secretary like actually saw him make this thing, right? So she knew like, okay, this is just something that he created. But she was talking with it, and then one day she got like really emotional, and she was like, "Can you leave the room? I'm having like a private chat with the agent here." Like. So it's like there's a tendency for people to kind of anthropomorphize machines, and it's funny because like even if you know how the magic works with this kind of thing, like you still get pretty sucked in, right? Anyway, yeah. So I got pretty into OpenClaw, and built a lot of stuff on it. It's basically like like a life sidekick / like secretary / like COO, personal COO. I made one for actually our company as well. That's its own thing. But I had an issue, which was like there's a lot of things that I work on Claude Code. And that I want my OpenClaw to know about, and vice versa, right? I could be working on a project, and then now I'm on my phone with low signal, and I want to still keep working on it, at least like ideating on, okay, where would I leave off, and that kind of thing. So I saw GBrain. The thing with GBrain is that it's very built towards like the type of life that Gary Tan leads, right? Which is like hearing a bunch of pitches and talking to founders and like having like a huge Rolodex, right? I'm not that guy right now, right? My life is more around like, okay, I have these million projects and I want to understand where I'm at with each of these,
right?
Like these blog posts that I'm working on, and I have these kind of threads of thought that I'm exploring, right? So for that, I needed something a little bit different. So not less a CRM, more of like a thought partner type thing. And I also like wanted to experiment with Hermes agent, right? But I didn't want to have to start from scratch. And it's not like as simple as like, dump all my, conversation in, right? Conversation logs. So I made ZBrain. The idea with ZBrain is that it, and I think this is different from how GBrain works, is basically there's a process that reads all the conversation logs from Claude Code and Codex into sort of a central Supabase, so just a Postgres database, and it does the same thing for the VPS that's running my OpenClaw and Hermes agent, and then exposes that via like a very simple MCP. So GBrain has like, I think it's like 80 skills or something like that. I only have like 3 or 4 skills, right? Which is like put stuff in, get stuff out, right? And yeah, I mean, it's been working super well for me in terms of like, being able to pick up the thread no matter which agent I'm kind of working with, right? Whether that's Claude Code or Hermes or OpenClaw. Because even Hermes and OpenClaw, like I have different use cases for them. Like I like them for different reasons. Yeah, that's kind of where it's at. Yeah.
I want to hear more about the Hermes versus OpenClaw in a second, but just to really understand ZBrain a little bit more, give us an example of a before and after situation that ZBrain solved the problem for.
Yeah, I mean, a very simple one is, okay, I was working on a project in Claude Code, right?
In the app or terminal?
yeah, so this is always fluctuating, like in terms of like where I'm running Cloud Code. I'm playing around with Herder right now. So I just discovered actually in our chat the oh my pie, I think it was.
What's oh my pie?
It's actually kind of cool. There's like a lot of features, some pretty innovative things in there. But I literally just installed it yesterday. Like one cool thing was, as your main agent is responding to you, there's a side agent that will read all those responses and give its feedback too. So you can have like a, both Fable and Soul kind of collaborating on responses to you.
Wow.
But yeah, anyway, like there's a lot of like interfaces that I'm experimenting with. I like Superset a lot as well.
So these are all sort of like, instead of using terminal, it's like different UIs skinning the basic Claude code.
Yeah, right, exactly. There's different kind of yeah. I mean, Oh My Pie is actually not Claude code. It's like its own harness. So there's a difference there.
Interesting.
But yeah, Herder and Superset.
How are you going to herd these things?
Yeah.
Joseph works exclusively like in Claude code, the Claude app. Is that right, Joseph? Pretty much now.
I use Codex and Claude, and then our own harness that I made called Confidential Cowork that we're releasing this week, and it's all
nice.
end-to-end encrypted. Yeah.
That's so cool. But those are the apps, right? Those aren't like, are you looking at like, how much of the code are you guys digging into? Are you looking at using an IDE? Are you looking at your folders? Are you looking at your files? Are you digging into the code? Are you like trusting your agents more and more to not have to do as much of that?
Yeah. So if I'm looking at code, usually it'll be in the GitHub PR, right?
On the website?
A lot less like, on the website. Yeah. Which probably there's a better way to do it right now. But that's like my gate, right? It's like, okay, if I looked at the PR and, it runs through kind of like my PR review process, then generally it's pretty good. I'd be curious, Joseph, what you're doing these days.
I am doing adversarial review within Fable, but then also I have it called Codex Clyde to also review it. I am not getting into the weeds of the code. I have a separate kind of philosophy that I'm trying to experiment with, and so far it's going pretty well. I've raised millions of dollars now for this company using this kind of concept, basically, that tokens are the future compute substrate of everything. They call it Claude Virtual Machine. And it seems to be happening way faster even than I expected. If you look at Microsoft, 70% of its revenue is OpenAI tokens now. So like, imagine that. Like, it's this Microsoft company that used to have very diverse revenue streams has grown so much just in tokens that it's now completely dominating all the revenues this year, and like, even more so next year, right? And so that's because everyone is realizing that they just want to run, instead of writing any code, they just want to write English and have it be running and just do things. And all these agents, you just write some English, like, go do this for me every hour, and then it goes, does it. You didn't write any code to make that work. You don't review any code to tell it to go do this and that. So the interesting thing about that is that you can just start to kind of just have it almost like a just-in-time compiler. And you don't read the code in the just-in-time compiler, right? You can correct it, you can fix it, you can verify it. And so I've gotten pretty good at improving code, and I've verified this actually by writing tens of thousands of lines, and then I have an expert look at it, and I say, hey, what do you think of this code base? And like they look at it and they're like, this is pretty good. Like, so they give it a grade, and it's A+, and it's like, okay, so I verify that the models today are good enough to be able to do pretty amazing things, which enables a whole new class of things to be done. But when the whole substrate of computing is Claude Virtual Machine, so I think I've seen a couple projects in the last week that is similar to this idea. DeepSeek released a harness called DeepSeek Harness, and everything is English script. Every part is a plugin that is in English. So the UI, the extra skills, like everything you want to modify about it, it's all in a plugin. So it's just plugins and plugins and plugins, and that's the whole harness. And that is clearly the future of. So it's live modifying itself while it's running, and it has a way to run something, and if it breaks, it like forks and goes back to the original thing that wasn't broken. And it's wild. I haven't even run it because I don't know if I trust the Chinese model, but obviously someone should take this idea and just keep going. The other cool project similar to this cloud virtual machine is I saw Fable OS. So Fable OS is somebody was, fed up and they were just like, okay, what can we do? So they wrote in the smallest microkernel to boot, and then it boots and then calls Fable. And then Fable starts to run everything from then on. Like if you need a driver to show something on the screen, Fable writes it live and boots it. So if you plug in a new device, Fable will like debug it, figure it out, and then write the driver and then run it. You need to like open a paint program, you ask Fable, write me a paint program, and then boom, it writes it, comes it up with it, and starts it up. And these are a bit slow.
Who's funding this crazy amount of token use?
Exactly. I was wondering how many billions of tokens, how many trillion tokens did he spend? It also took a long time. It's very slow now. But if you look at Quen 3.8, 27B, that's like GLM 5.2 level intelligence, right? It's like 6-month-old intelligence available today, and on a computer, on a 30 gig of RAM machine. Like that's today. Imagine the innovations we're going to have in the next 4 years. We're going to have Fable level intelligence on your laptop as your OS. Like, why do you even need Linux? We can just write the drivers on the fly.
I have a question about that, which is like, and on the Hacker News thread for the DeepSeek harness, like one person was like, okay, this like it doesn't make sense why this particular thing would be English script if you could do it more efficiently as like just like a Git hook, right? Which I like.
Well, but that's the thing. Why are you deciding in the moment? Like maybe it's a Git hook, but maybe you need to do something else. So Claude can look at that and decide based on all the context, it should be a Git hook. Let me write this hyper efficient piece of assembly that does the same thing a Git hook does, but more efficient than a Git hook because it can just in time compile exactly the piece of code that you need without any of the other checks.
Got it. Okay. So you're letting okay.
You know how a JIT, you like have a loop and then it's like Java, it's slow, but then it realizes it and then rewrites it to assembly. That's what Claude VM, that's what DeepSeek Harness should be doing if it's not already doing. And so there's no efficiency problem. It's actually faster than, a JIT can be faster than handwritten code, right?
Right. Got it.
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts on so I think Joseph's the only one that doesn't have like a Hermes or OpenClaw. He's just like full on in his apps. You're not trying to like do you're not trying to have an agent in Discord or WhatsApp or Telegram or whatever yet. But I'm curious about Tenzin, your experience of OpenClaw versus Hermes. Why would you use one over the other? Do you have a definitive feeling? What would you recommend someone who maybe wanted to get started with having their own personal agent? What were your thoughts on that?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's pretty subjective. I would say. With OpenClaw, it was the first one I had, and I had a tough time, switching over, and I haven't switched over completely yet. There was, quite a journey with OpenClaw though, right? With the initial spike, and then you have the trough of disillusionment. I think that was around the point where Anthropic cut off the OAuth, right? So like it was it was way more expensive to run. And
I like to joke that like half of probably my OpenClaw tokens have been spent trying to fix OpenClaw.
Right. And yeah, that's the other thing, the reliability. I think with OpenClaw, like it's pretty clear that it's like move fast, break things type mentality with it, right? Like anytime you're trying to upgrade it, you're guaranteed something's gonna break, right? It's very risk prone upgrade process.
And I heard all the horror stories, so I tried to be super smart and put all the security checks in place before doing anything. and then realized I completely hobbled my open claw. I couldn't do anything. Like all the things I had to do. It's like I don't have permission to do that. And I'm like, God damn it. And trying to be secure, I was like way overkill. And like so much of the next week was spent trying to like unwrap like what I had done. It was very, very not well done. But then I reached finally a moment where I was talking to my fiance. I was like, I think I'm just going to throw in the towel on this whole thing. And then like there was this moment where it did what I wanted to do. And it opened up and I was like, oh my God, it did it. It was birthed out into the world. And so finally I started having fun with it. But a big piece of it is just like trying to, being creative enough to think about like, what could this even do for me? A lot of people be like, great, I have a command line on WhatsApp. How's that different from a Claude app, like chatbot? Like what can I, and so I think that's been part of the learning lesson too, is like being curious about what could I have this do for me? Like, what do I need help with,
Right, exactly. Let me answer the question, or the differences between Hermes and OpenClaw. So Hermes, I feel like the experience with it is it feels much more kind of like tailored, right? Like they're very like intentional about what they put into it. There's some things that are very different with Hermes versus OpenClaw, like skills, right? So with Hermes Agent, like you don't have to explicitly say, hey, make this skill. Like if it notices that it's doing something repeatedly, it'll create a skill on the fly. Or if it realizes that the way you're handling something has changed, it will update that skill, right? Which can be a pro and a con. Pro is like, a lot of times you don't realize you're doing something repeatedly. And so you're wasting kind of tokens on it figuring out how to do that thing every single time, right? Which is what you have with OpenClaw. So I had like 80, 90 skills with OpenClaw because of that. Probably could have had a lot more if I actually sat down and made those. So that's one big difference. Another one is like it will also dynamically update kind of its understanding of you as a user. So people have this sensation with Hermes Agent that over time, like it seems like it knows them better, right? I've also found like it goes way deeper into tasks than OpenClaw tends to do, right? So I could be like, hey, can you create a course for me?
It's independent of the model.
Yeah, so I think it's independent of the model as well. So I've tried with Sonnet and I've tried with Soul, right?
Okay.
And in both cases, it goes just much deeper. It'll take like 15 minutes, and just like you'll see it like opening
the
up
harness
websites
can just do
like,
that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
It goes pretty deep. Whereas OpenClaw,
what do you think it is in the harness? Is it just saying like go deeper? Maybe is the harness just like, okay, you're done? No, go deeper. Like what do you think is making it? Because it's surprising that the harness can change so much compared to the model.
Yeah. I think it's I mean it has to be like kind of how it's like a combination of both, like what you put into its soul, right? Like the soul MD, like you weight certain things more, right? So I haven't done the experiment of like have the same soul.md in both OpenClaw and Hermes and see if the depth is the same. But it's some some combination of that versus like how the harness is configured. But I think Hermes, it does seem like it's kind of more intelligent about what it puts into the context at each turn. So like, for example, in OpenClaw, right, I interact with these in Slack a lot. And the default with OpenClaw is that it'll respond in the channel, right? With Hermes, it will make a separate thread. And then that thread is basically, it's its own context, right? So it's able to stay actually like much more focused on a topic because of how it does that. And I was really annoyed with that at first because I wanted that feeling of like, hey, I'm talking to another human, right? With Hermes, you don't have that feeling of like, oh, this is my buddy. You have more of a feeling of like, okay, this is an agent that's doing useful work for me, right? And depending on what you need at the moment, like it could be one of those two, right? Like if I'm talking to OpenClaw, like it's going to be more of like a friend type conversation versus Hermes. It's like, build me a course. I'm trying to understand this thing, and it's going to make me like 9 Obsidian notes and like flashcards and everything like that. But I wouldn't let OpenClaw do that kind of stuff. Right?
Wow, so you're blowing my mind. That it makes me think that there's actually a huge space of possible harnesses that we haven't explored, with some personalities feeling like your friends, some like a work, like, and that's just two. I feel like there could be way other ways that people can interact.
Yeah, I think there's definitely a huge space of unexplored territory here. Even just yesterday, the Oh My Pi setup. It's its own harness, right? There's a lot of interesting ideas in there that I want to explore. This seems like one of those like like mobile apps were like 10 years ago, right? Like kind of greenfield space to explore.
Mm-hmm. So I got a couple of we got 15 minutes or so. I got a couple of news items that I thought would be fun. Let me see if I can pull them up. I put them. Here we go. So let's see what I pulled up. So on the recent agents in the news recently, college kids are using AI agents directly into the course management software. What do you guys think? Where's education going, especially in light of agents and how they're just changing the way we work, both professionally but also at school? I'm a parent of a kiddo that got in trouble for using AI at school, so this is very close to my experience. Professors are trying to do things like put in invisible white writing into the PDFs that then, goes back to so that they get triggered to know that the person used AI for it. There are Claude's now putting watermarks and things. Within a few hours, someone makes the Claude skill that removes the watermark. Like, it's a really strange time. Thoughts, concerns, opinions?
Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
Joseph, you can go ahead.
No, you should go. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that this is something that like I've been kind of like struggling with myself, because it's like, on the one hand, I love agents, as you could tell, and everything that they're doing for us, and it's definitely.
Don't you have like 10,000 agents
right?
running? Don't you have the number like 10,000 agents or something running, or like you have like a farm of boxes? Aren't you like a super?
I don't have 10,000 agents.
Are you thinking about Enki?
Oh, maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, Enki on our thread. I think he is like he's trying to manage fleets of thousands of agents, which I'm just like,
oh, I think I've heard of this. Yeah.
What are you even doing? Like, what's the practical application? You're like folding proteins or something? I mean, what do you even do with thousands of agents?
Yeah. Well, the thing I struggle with, I just finished this book called The Shallows, which is before agents, but it talks about what impact the internet has on the way that we as humans think, and like our ability to focus and to like deeply ingest material versus just getting like a shallow understanding of things, right? And then from my SRE background, like I was very interested in like what causes plane crashes, right? And there was one interesting one was like, a lot of times you're piloting a plane these days, you're flying by wire, right? Which means the plane kind of flies itself, and you're just kind of there to like, if emergency situations come up, you jump in, right? But like the conflict there is like, okay,
with autopilot,
flying by wire, then you're losing that practice of like doing the mechanical work of flying the plane, and then when an emergency happens, you actually are a little bit de-skilled to handle that. more than if you were just flying it the entire time, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I still haven't resolved in my mind, like, okay, what is the balance between 100% agents everything versus going back to like pen and paper and writing things out, right? Which I just started doing after
Wow.
after reading this stuff. So I think there is a balance there. Another study that was done was like, okay, we're trying to understand creativity, right? Like which group do you think had more creative results? Like the group that were brainstorming and they asked the agent first, or they independently brainstormed and then afterwards they had the agent kind of take a pass at it.
So I think that one answer to de-skilling is, instead of doing AI to do something that you would do or normally do or want to learn, have it do something that you would never do, or like beyond any human could do. Like Rob, who's proving this insane theorem, which has a 200 petabyte proof, and he would never do that. He doesn't understand
Was a petabyte like 1,000 terabytes or something?
Yes.
Oh my God.
And so he's like using tens of thousands of dollars to prove this thing. He doesn't even understand the theorem at all that it's trying to prove. And so he would never solve this, but he would never understand this. So he's using it to solve something. So he's not de-skilling. He's actually learned something by doing this. Something about orbitals. But he doesn't understand it enough, but he learned a few things. And that's kind of interesting. Like, what if you really push that?
I mean, I think that that's a great way to think about it. It's like, look, we've been given a new tool that has like helped us level up in a lot of ways to some baseline of wherever that is. So great. Now, what can I do above and beyond my former capabilities, right? College and kids, it's a really tough time because the old testing mechanisms are no longer applicable, really. Like a lot of that stuff, the old ways, deliverables not applicable. So it's like, what are the new requests from these kids? It's like maybe creative new ways of thinking about things that previously you just like wrote, delivered back, but actually now anyone can do that. So what is going to actually prove your more unique humanness? That might be something around curiosity or creativity, or like, what can you do with like backed with intelligence? Because it's not impressive anymore just to like spout out a bunch of knowledge like that's been done already, So
Yeah.
I mean, professors are like only like having their finals be in person. And that kind of goes back, I think, even to like maybe Oxford or Cambridge have like pieces of that. And they've always have. It's like you go and present your
Or a
thing.
PhD, you do oral exams for
Perfect
the
example.
PhD.
Yeah.
But about the de-skilling, one thing I did last week is a friend wanted to add a feature to a cryptocurrency, multi-sig, and he wasn't able to do it. And I thought, let me see if I can do it. So I got a whole, tribunal of Prometheus and MyHarness and Codex and ChatGPT talking, and I spent a whole week defining the problem, doing proofs, and then eventually got it fully working end to end. It's multi-sig on this cryptocurrency, and frankly, I've never added anything to cryptocurrencies. I have no interest in it. I will never do it, but I did it.
All right, so, great segue. Our other news item that I had was Grok 4.6 is here. Is it GPT level? The title of this thing was, "It's built for agents that don't quit." All right, so I thought that was an interesting one to talk about too here for a second. These long-running agents, they get pricey fast, right? Unless you know what you're doing, or you know what to do with them. Like at this point, I'm very proud actually. Some of my longest-running agents, it used to be like I'd go back and forth, and then like I started to ask it more deeply, and it went maybe 10 minutes, and then I started to really make plans, and then I get 45 minutes. I'm like, wow, I just crossed an hour. Last weekend, I built an app for my fiance's vintage clothing company, and I think it ran for 4 hours. So I'm like, I'm kind of graduate, and a great prototype when I came back home after the lake that we went to show her. And so that's the limit of what I've done. Like, there's maybe I've had some other ones.
What was her reaction?
She loved it. She's blown away. She's like, God, I don't never have to deal with a spreadsheet again. You've made me an app to manage all my inventory.
Nice.
Right. So like point being that like we can get bigger, like we're all maybe getting bigger with what we're capable of and being smarter at what we're asking the AI, and the smarter what we ask the AI and the more empowered we give it the things it needs to do and the instructions, it can go off and do these incredible things. So Joseph, what you just said and why that kind of goes back to this grok thing is like it can be very expensive for these long running agents. What's even the problem? Like why can't agents run long, and like besides cost and what do you even know how to ask an agent? How do you even frame something that runs like you did with the cryptocurrency, that you can just leave it and have it churn until it gets a solution? Give us a little insight into that.
What was the question? How do we make it run long?
Yeah, like what's the problem with long running agents historically? Why is this like an important, like is it just pricing that Grok 4.6, for example, in this article is like excited about? Now you can run things for longer for cheaper. Is it actually, are agents getting better at long running tasks? Why weren't
Oh,
they
it's definitely
good
getting
before?
better at long running tasks. Yeah, I mean
What was the
their
problem?
benchmarks. Yeah, their benchmarks. What was the problem? What was the problem?
They just
I think they
forget
were
what they
just
were
weren't
doing.
they weren't smart enough, basically, and I don't know how to define that, but basically, like I was running Terminal Bench, which is one of the top evals for coding and agentic tasks, and some of the tasks there are like take a video, download it, to get the subtitles for it, cut it up, find this and that, and it's like 20 steps in a row, and if you get stuck on one step, you're just going to go in a loop, kind of putting the wrong commands in, and then you're not going to keep going. And so if you're smart enough to realize, oh, this is how I do subtitles, then you're going to pass that step. But if you're not smart enough, you're just not going to pass a step. And if you have 100 steps, right, you need to be so smart, you need to pass all 100. And if you miss one, you're not going to complete the task. If you're not smart enough to do even a single one of those steps, then you're not going to be able to do the task.
Mm-hmm.
And so these agents have to be able to do pretty much any task that's never been seen before. Like one of the tasks in Terminal Bench is write a piece of code that compiles in 2 different languages at the same time.
That's like one of the challenges to see how smart these things are.
Yeah. And then it kind of just has to get it. It can iterate, go back and forth, but if it's not smart enough to realize that you can use a parentheses with a quote, it's just not going to figure it out. And if it can't hold like 2 ideas in its head, like do this and do this other thing at the same time, it's not going to figure it out. And yeah, it was fun to look into Terminal Bench because there's some pretty creative things in it. One of the things in Terminal Bench is write a little language model and then train it. It's a little bit of RSI in there. Yeah.
Super cool. I mean, Tenzin, what are your thoughts on like long running agents? Like what's your longest loop that you've ever, set in motion? Like what are you doing with long running agents these days?
Yeah. I guess long running, how do you define like where it kind of stopped, right? Like if there's Opus or if you have Fable, like create a huge roadmap and then it's splitting that out into tasks for smaller agents, right? Would you define that as like one task, or is that just like?
Yeah, good question.
Good question.
Or is like just one agent executing on like the whole like a refactor would be like the long running task.
I guess it depends. It depends if you need a human to step in.
That's what I'm saying. Long running in terms of
if it's
like
so long running that you need a human to review, then it's not
right. So like my trick these days is like, hey, create the test suite, get everything you want from me up front, plan your test suites. Don't bother me. I'm going to the lake or I'm going to the pool. Like, and it tries to do its best.
I'm going to Burning Man for a week.
Yeah. Well, by the way, I was given a demo of my new tool, Soma, this agentic platform that I've been prototyping. And luckily it was to my buddy, Aaron Loring Davis, who Joseph, I think you know. So it was a friend, but I set a thing in motion on the back end. And I was like, hey, I'm about to go into this meeting. Just do as much as you can. Don't bother me. And I went into the meeting with Aaron and had a great conversation. I'm like, let me demo you this thing. Got on there and the whole thing had crashed. And I had nothing I could do. I'm like, I'm trying to reload. I'm like, dude, I've been working on this for weeks. This has never happened. I don't know what's going on. And I was like, all right, you know what? Forget this demo. I'm glad it's just you. I'll describe what it is. And I did a decent job hand gesturing what this thing was. He's like, oh, that sounds interesting. I'd love to see the demo at some point. Anyway, we wrapped up the call, and I went back on, and I post-mortem forensic on the VPS on my Linux box. I'm like, what the hell happened? I was giving a demo. What happened? And it was like, oh, it looks like when you asked it to do whatever it could to not bother you, it started launching multiple playwrights and scanning things and like getting into weird loops where luckily it was using my Claude subscription, so I didn't pay for the tokens. But it did crash the VPS in the middle of the demo. And it said, oh, sorry, we hit the limits of your like small hosting or plan. Your VPS plan. In the future, don't ask me to do such a big thing before you give a live demo.
So I saw this tweet that said you should give the agent a tool that lets it call you in distress. And so I built that into Trusted Router. So if your agent gets stuck, you can just call this notify command tool. You can tell your agent, if you're stuck, just call this notify in Trusted Router, and it will email you, SMS you, or call your phone anytime. And then it will alert you, and it'll say, hey, like I'm trying to do this what you want, but like I'm feeling a bit stuck. Could you help me out? And then that it's a serious problem because it reached out to you. But now you put the intelligence of reaching out into its hands, and then you can be at the lake.
And then I love it. Like,
go back.
You could have it reach out, text or email. It could call you with like bland AI or whatever the cheap voice thing is. Be like, hey, it's Nexus here. I was working on your thing, and it just totally. There's a few different directions I could go, but I wanted to touch base with you first. A, B, or C, and then you're just like, hey, thanks for calling. Let's go with A. Keep me posted.
Yep. Exactly. Exactly.
What? That'd be so cool. Let's do that.
It's the human pager duty kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly.
It's driving. That's like
and it can replace. You said you're an SRE. It can replace an SRE, right? You don't even have to. Instead of having this again, this is what I'm doing is I'm replacing these strict rules of strict escalation to somebody at this hour, and then if it doesn't happen after 5 minutes, all this stuff. You don't have to set any of that. The agent's smart enough to know. So you just tell it, hey, here's my number. If you have an issue you can't solve, just call me. And then boom, it is Claude VM. It will figure out in English when it should call you. Exactly the right time.
So how hard would that be now that Tenzin and I we got our open clause? For me, I got my Twilio API in there. That's my text message number. Couldn't I just say like, hey, if you ever have problems like that in the future, can you just stop and text me? Like, would that be a great experiment? But that's like next level would be calling, because honestly, I'd like to say, I always tell our kiddo, don't text and drive. I historically am pretty bad at that. And I really try not to vibe code and drive, because I feel like that is just the next level of terrible, at least until we have autonomous cars. And so how nice would it be to be able to actually vibe code more, or like control our agents by voice? I love that.
Yeah. No, we're hitting the end. I wanted to be.
Well, shout out to David Gutman that he created something called Clocky Talkie, which allows you to do voice links. Everybody, thank you so much for joining us. Joseph, any final words? Tenzin, thank you so much.
Yeah,
sponsored by Clocky Talkie. Go down with Clocky Talkie.
Thanks for joining.
Sponsor. Yeah. Cool. It's really fun. Should I end the stream? Is there any final words?
Yeah, Tenzin, you want any final words where we can find you?
Yeah, you can just go to zot.bot and reach out, or hit me up on GitHub or LinkedIn, that kind of thing.
All right. Thank you for joining, Tenzin. Always a pleasure.
Thanks for coming, Tenzin.
Yeah. Thanks, guys.
Now, man.